I'd like to start by offering my congratulations to all you graduating students on successfully demonstrating your mastery of the set learning objectives and for the particular conviction you have shown to complete your research projects online during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. I trust the trials and tribulations of the past year will always feature in your ongoing reflections and that your ability to surmount them will be a source of reassurance to you when you confront future challenges. I'd also like to congratulate the partners, family, friends and colleagues who have supported your endeavours. Whatever price they had to pay, I hope that tonight it all feels worthwhile. As I pondered what thoughts I might share with you on this occasion, I began to make mental comparisons between the social disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the disruptions caused in Britain by World War II. The threat of invasion then by another nation stimulated enormous creativity in Britain by multidisciplinary teams to find the sort of leaders who could be steadfast in the face of threat and uncertainty, and who could contain the anxiety of their followers in the need to collaborate to achieve vital tasks. Having succeeded, those pioneering action researchers created in 1946 the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations to offer their learning about leadership and socio-technical systems to the task of reconstructing British society as the hot war was replaced by the politics of the Cold War. The field of system psychodynamics emerged from all that brainpower and experimentation. And as you know, the NIODA Master's Program draws significantly from that tradition. Now, 75 years later, we're enduring another major social disruption and soon to tackle its after effects. The invader this time is invisible to the naked eye, global, highly contagious, potentially just as deadly, and respects no social structure. In 2020, we've had many vivid examples of drastically different forms of leadership and followership, locally and internationally, as officials and citizens alike have tried to hold the virus at bay and struggle with the tension between individual survival and the commonwealth of the collective. Now, hopefully, we're on the verge of a vaccine. We can begin to think about identifying and acting on opportunities for constructing a better world in the post-COVID era. This challenge raises for me, and I hope for you, the question of whether the concepts, frameworks and methods generated by the Tavistock will be sufficient, or must we find new ways to support individual growth, social cohesion and our collective advancement. One of the paradoxes of change is that in order to change, some things have to remain the same. Stasis and movement co-define each other. We only know things are changing if some things don't change. Our progress is reflected in what we conserve. Over the past few years in my role on the Academic Board of Governance, I've been interviewing NIODA graduates to discern what they regard as their most valuable learning from the program. I have found that one thing that they all say, in their own words, is that their experience in the program has increased their capacity to hold themselves together. To hold themselves together in the face of confusion and uncertainty, doubt and aggression, their own and that of their colleagues and clients when faced with complex problems. So, however this capacity to hold oneself together is achieved, it seems to me that it is one aspect of the program that should be conserved as we consider changes to learning formats and the new challenges of digitally connected, networking forms of enterprise and social care. I don't intend tonight in this address to consider the details of what might stay and what might change. But rather I want to mention a framework, often overlooked in my opinion, that identifies critical aspects of human systems that tend to adapt successfully to changing environments. It was developed by the Australian scholar practitioner Fred Emery, who was an early contributor to the Tavistock tradition and spent his later career at the Australian National University. He called human systems that persisted because they were adaptive. He called them ideal-seeking systems. Ideals, by definition, are never reached, but it is in the reaching for them that adaptive decisions are made. Ideals help us integrate our values with our judgment of facts and hence shape purposeful choices. Emery claimed that human history reveals 4 ideals that transcend nations, settings and cultures, and which can help curb turbulence in the post-industrial society because they are inherent to human nature. The first ideal he called belonging. This ideal reflects the human wish to belong to something beyond the self, and so can only be cultivated in group life. The pursuit of relatedness and belongingness with others stimulates far greater human choice about futures than the acquisition of material plenty. It is reflected in the belief that the richest gift a person can have is friends and family, rather than material possessions. Belonging begets commitment. The opposite of belonging is selfishness and alienation. Trends so disturbingly revealed in the number of people today in Western countries who report feeling lonely and concerned about their mental health, despite having higher standards of living than previous generations and being able to connect digitally with others all over the planet. In group life, these maladaptive trends of selfishness and alienation are manifested in basic assumption me. The second ideal Emery called nurturance. This ideal connotes more than the image of caring for those who are dependent or tending the green shoots in your garden. It points to the mutuality that underlies development. Parents grow their children up, and at the same time, children grow their parents up. Nurturance points to the sort of purposes which contribute to the cultivation of one's own capacities and those of others. It reflects the possibility of discovering and realising our own potential alongside the fact that we need others to help us do that. Nurturance is a two-way street. It requires, in Melanie Klein's terms, that we achieve as individuals a depressive state of mind, and as political decision makers that we understand ecological relatedness. Nurturance is evident in an economy that is in harmony with its environment. The opposite of nurturance is exploitation, our own gains at the expense of others and at the expense of the natural environment. It's win-lose. The third ideal he called humanity. If humanity is a guiding ideal, we make choices that are most appropriate and fitting to people. Choices that have a human scale and take account of our human nature, putting human well-being and development, both spiritual and physical, above bureaucratic and material criteria of progress. This applies both to our built environment and to the design of organisations and work practices. All economic decisions are also moral decisions, and we should not allow these dimensions to be split apart. No matter how tight the protocols or accurate the metrics, a decision cannot be judged as humane or inhumane unless we know how it affects the individuals concerned. The opposite of the ideal of humanity is ruthlessness, to make choices without human concern. The fourth and final ideal is that of beauty. Beauty is an ideal that encourages the expressions of people's desire for outcomes that are intrinsically appealing and aesthetically attractive. It reflects a capacity for joy in multiple forms of human expressiveness, whether in speech, narrative style, architecture, cooking, drawing, song, dance, theatre, etc. Importantly, beauty should not be limited to notions of high art. Beauty can be sought in all aspects of our work and professional practice. Beauty can be expressed in crafting a sentence that really sings, in creating a process of inclusiveness. It can be reflected in the elegance of an educational design that leads to unexpected insights. The opposite of the ideal of beauty are choices that result in divisive, ugly, degrading, deforming, and polluting outcomes. The recent destruction by Rio Tinto of the Aboriginal cave sites in the Pilbara are an awful example of just how restricted and tenuous an appreciation of beauty can be. In actively adaptive groups, organisations and institutions, it is assumed that all members, whatever their place in the structure, are capable of seeking and being guided by these ideals of belonging, nurturance, humanity and beauty. Such activity does not require experts to tell people what to do. It requires leaders who can open and protect the space for reflection about what choices are being made and what ideals are guiding those choices. In this sense, leadership is the capacity and skill to lead a process of learning from experience. It is a leadership that helps the group navigate turbulence by making purposeful choices, rather than acting impetuously or waiting helplessly for the expert saviour. I like to think that NIODA is guided by these ideals, and that your experience in studying for your master's qualification has imbued you with some appreciation for them and the value that they offer. We don't expect you graduates to change the whole world, but we are hopeful and confident that you can make a positive difference in your own part of the world. And as you leave your student role, we hope too that you will maintain a collegial relatedness to NIODA, continue to share your professional strivings, and help us all to continue to reflect and learn together. Here's to you. May you all go well and with good health. Cheers.